So a little bit more about me. I started in 2008. My late mother, Sybil Bear, and my late aunt, Velma Goodfeather, they said I wasn't doing anything. And I was sitting at home beading and sewing because my children dance powwow, my grandchildren. So they said, you're not doing anything. You should go to school, go to university. They have this program. What program? I said. So in 2008, they enrolled me. So I went. 2012, I finished. Went through lots in those 5 years, because 1 year it was canceled. The 4 years I went, it was in Prince Albert, it was in Saskatoon. I was alone in that class with other language instructors. There were Cree, there were Dene, there were Soto. And out of about 40 of us, there was only 12 of us that finished. So it was a struggle. We camped in a campground. We done everything we could to survive. So it was really hard for us. But I appreciate everybody tonight being asked to do a beginning Dakota language series. Teaching at the university. I haven't taught there in about 3 years. 3 years due to COVID and changes and stuff like that. We were doing Zoom, so I had to adapt. What can I do in 10 classes, right? What can we learn in 10 classes? I had a hard time sometimes to teach some of my students at the university because all of them were not First Nations. Some were from Saudi Arabia, China, and Greek, and they took my class. I was very proud of them because if they care that much about the language, they're keeping it alive somewhere out there, even if it's not their culture. I felt, it was very honoring for me to do that. But our beginning, we're going to start, and 1 hour doesn't give us enough time, but then I'm glad that they sent the email out, and there's going to be some changes on the vegetables and the colors, but we will renew that and send a different email out with the changes on it. And I wouldn't talk so much about the phonology or the linguistics of it, because to have the morphology and phonology of the language, that's a whole different thing. And we are here just to learn the basics, because I wanted to go into linguistics, but I couldn't get funded. So I just left it at that. And now I'm in a different role. I'm addiction. I'm a NADAP worker / wellness. So I play different roles all over. But I'm glad that we have help from our relatives in other communities, like Harold, he's from Sioux Valley, and our Dakota reserves here in Canada, there's not very much of us, and we all kind of help each other, and that's how we are succeeding with our language. And I think that's what's needed now. And everybody who joined on this series tonight, I want to thank you all for signing in, because you're helping us to keep the language. And then we'll all learn together. Sometimes we laugh at ourselves, and that's okay. It doesn't have to be all serious, right? Learning can be fun. Okay. So we'll go on to the first slide. Beginner Dakota class. Welcome to the Beginner Dakota Language Cyber Group. Okay, because it's done online. I appreciate the interest for the language and want to thank you all who are participating and help to keep the language alive. I'm grateful for this class to be allowed over Zoom to share with anyone. I will share what I can in the 10 classes we are privileged with. Okay, so introductions of myself, I've done a little bit of that in my small bio. I have 6 sons, 2 daughters. My oldest one is 40 years old. She turned 40 this year. My youngest son is 19. Then most of all, I want to be respectful online. Put yourself on mute until you have a response, because we could all hear you. And sometimes we're learners where we have to focus. And raise your hand if you have a question. There's little hands at the bottom of the screen that can raise up, and then I'll see it. And we are all learners. Let's have fun while we learn. Okay? All right. I don't know if you could see this. This one's kind of small. Minimize this. Okay, so the vowels. We have the Dakota letters, and what they all sound like, because our vowels and our consonants and our wording is just different. Our dialect, the men have different dialects. Well, not that much, but the ending, and the women as well. The men, they say do at the end. Women say ye, but that's when you do your structured sentences. Doing structured sentences consists of more words that needs to be known and the connecting words. When you speak Dakota and English at the same time, that's called a blended language. Speaking languages the same time in a sentence is called blended language. And knowing that, that's a beginning for anybody, to keep that language. So the Dakota letter, I'm going to go. I don't like to say alphabet. I just like to say letter. For A, it sounds like the A in father. Other. So B is like boy, b. And C is like chore. And this other C is an exploded C. As we say the words, I'll identify which ones are exploded. And we have the guttural sound too. So I'll explain that as we go along. And D is day. E as in they. It sounds like a long A, they, A. The G sounds like the G in give, g. And the other G has a guttural, like wanachi, chi. A lot of people have a hard time to say that guttural. And the other one is a nasal. H is like the H in hello. So it actually comes from your throat, right? And another H is aspirated, like jota. It's not really a guttural sound, it's an aspirated sound. It comes out differently from your esophagus. So when I took phonology and morphology, we were taught how to say different letters. And we say letters because alphabets is for the Roman orthography. And the I, it's like the I in machine. E. K is like the K in kite. The other exploded K is like wana K. It's an aspirated kind of. The M is like the M in mouse. Mouse. And the N is like the N in new. N. The other N is like a nasal, like in naji. It comes from your nose. And this is where, when you start saying them, I'm going to ask you to say some of the words. You're going to have problems, some of us, and we can laugh at ourselves because we're learning. It's fun, okay? Because you know what? Like I said before, I'm happy that we're learning it. We're learning it together, keeping it together. So it's naji. Naji means to stand, or ink, like the N in ink. The O is in like in go, O. P as in party, party. And the other P, the exploded, is like po, po, po. You're blowing it out of your mouth. Po. Or pow, pa, pa, pa. You have to move it with your mouth, with your lips. And the S as in C, C, S, like how we sound like when they make the snake noise. And there's an aspirated S, and it's sh, sh. It's like the SH in shower, sh, sh. So if you want to practice while I'm saying it, while you're on mute, that's good. And the T is like the T in town, town. The other T is exploded, like pta, 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 pta. The U is like the way it sounds in choose, ooh, ooh, ooh. W is like the W in warn, wah, warn, wah, wah. Y is like the Y in yellow, here, here, here. The Z is like the Z in zebra, z, z. And the other Z is like an azir, azir, az, z. When you say these words, these letters, you can feel it in your chest, you can feel it in your nose, you can feel it in your throat. So that's why they always say that people who are talking the language or speaking, they always drink water, or else they always have to don't let your mouth go dry because you'll give up. So we have 5 vowels, A, E, I, O, U. Okay, the 3 nasal vowels are N. That N should have a little tail on it. On my other laptop, I had the Dakota app on it, and this is a new laptop, so I can't download it yet. So I'd have to wait, but it has a little tail on the end. That's how you know that they're nasalized, if they have a little tail at the end on the end. So it's un. So you have to remember it's through your nose, the nasal, right? And the 26 consonants are B, C, ch, D, G, H, H, K, K, M, N, P, P, S, S, T, Th. The TH is kind of like you have to put your tongue against your teeth, kind of like tongue tied, and T, and the W is wah, wah. Y is yeah, and Z is Z, Z, and a Z, Z, Z. So marks above the lettering can mean a guttural sound or explosive. So you need to pay attention to where you put those little asterisks, those little marks above the above the alphabet. It can mean something else. And writing the words, you know what? You write it how you feel that you will understand, right? Not how everybody else will, but as long as you know the meaning, you write it the way you feel. People write it with a long E, right? That's how they understand it, or the TH. And again, men and women have different endings, do and ye. So pay attention to that. I have relatives in Pine Ridge. They're doing their Lakota class tonight too. So that's, I think they started at 6 till 7. Then this one is 7 to 8. So if you want to jump into that, let me know. I'll send you the link to that one. That one is a male teaching. Okay, so you can practice these letters. So some of our kinship are tiwahe, they say, mitakuye, immediate family. My teachings that I have from my language, they're from my grandmother, my father's grandmother. She was part Lakota from Wood Mountain. Her mother was Then my auntie that I talk about, my Aunt Velma Goodfeather, she was from Standing Buffalo. She was a fluent Dakota speaker. My mother was Sybil Bear. She was a very fluent Dakota speaker. My father is Harvey Uzitrapi. He was fluent too. There was a lot of shame in the language. People shamed them, made fun of them, laughed at them because they didn't say the words right, or else they made fun of them. They only wanted to speak English. So all these words that I learned, I got them from my auntie, my teachings from my aunties, my Auntie Eunice Bear too. We all talk and we all share and we brainstorm. So that's how we're revitalizing the language. And with yous, I'm sharing what I know, what I learned. So I hope that this will help you to understand about the Dakota language. So the man, we say Wichasha. There's that asterisk above the S, Wichasha. Wichasha. You have to say it 4 times. Wichasha. 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 The woman is Wiya. Wiya. The nasal N is on there. Wiya. 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 And the child, Sich H A. So see, the C has to have asterisks on it. Sich H A. Sich H A. Sich H A. They talk about the other word that we have for children. And it's a word that my late mother-in-law, Cecilia Brown, had said, and she called it Wakaija, 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 Wakaija. To me, it's very sacred to use that word. And it means like something very holy, like the little ones of spirits, because the children, they're very spiritual, right? They have a spirit. Boy is Hokshida, 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 Hokshida. The asterisk is above the S again. The girl is Wichinchana, 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 Wichinchana. So if you say those 4 times, and remember, this is recorded. So I think they're going to post it somewhere after, so that way you can go over it. And don't give up, keep on trying. So the older grandparents, what we were taught was kunshi. That's grandmother, right? Grandmother is kunshi, kunshi, kunshi. Again, that N is nasalized on there. It has a little tail on that N. Kunshi. And grandfather is Tunkashi, 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 Tunkashi. That N again is nasalized, okay? So your immediate grandparents. This was always a debate with so many people in our Tiwahe. Our relatives are not all blood. They're not our real brothers, sisters, aunties, uncles, grandparents. We always make relatives. We make a relative, we call it hunka, hunka, that's called relations, making relatives. So now there's a debate about it, you know, who do we call unchi? Who do we call unka, right? But then that's on the person. The onus is on them. Who do you want to call that? Because we make relations, you know, we have to nowadays. Unchi is grandmother. Unchi, unchi, unchi. Again, the N has a little tail on it, right? And the C should have an asterisk on it to make it a ch sound. Ch, ch, ch. Unchi. Okay. And grandfather is unka. Unka. The N should be nasalized. Unka. The K is a ka, ka, ka sound. Okay, it's not can, it's can, unka. Okay. Then father. Again, we should have an asterisk over the A and the E. Father is ate, 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 ate. The E sounds like an A, ate, ate, ate. Mother is ina, ina, ina. The N is not nasalized, so don't put a tail on it. Ina, ina. Son is chinkshi, 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 chinkshi. The C is CH, 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 and ink, she. The S is SH, 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 ch, chink, she. Okay. The daughter is chunk she, chunk she, chunk she, chunk she, chunk she. The C is CH, 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 ch. So now you have to try to remember that. It's okay to put the CH to help yourself, writing it down and reading it out loud to yourself, chunk shi. And the S, you could put SH to help yourself too. And the I is a long I, so maybe you could put the EE at the end too, if that helps you, chunk shi. Okay. So the birth order for the boys is chaske, chaske. Again, you could put the CH there to help yourself out. Chaske, chaske. That's the firstborn. The secondborn of the boys is hapan, 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 hapan. The thirdborn is hapi, 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 hapi. The fourthborn is chat-a, chat-a, chat-a. The fifthborn, there's always a debate on this one, how to say it. They always say hik-a, hik-a, or hak-a, hak-a. Again, from different territories where we come from, the Dakotas that were from different territories, we see and for the girls, the firstborn is Winona. That's your firstborn, your firstborn girl. A lot of people right now, they have multiple blended families, right? And there was a question asked, in one of my Dakota classes. They asked, so if I have a girl with my first husband, is it a Winona? And I said, yeah. And what about my second family I started having? I had another girl. Would she be a Winona? I would think so, I said. And I said, I can't say yes or no to you. That's your family, right? So again, another person asked if Winona is a Dakota name to be given to their children. And I said, that has to be asked to an elder, because for me, I don't offer that, because I feel that I'm not allowed to. I have my protocols too, and I know my boundaries, and that's where I leave it, right? So the secondborn for the girls is Hapan, Hapan, Hapan. Thirdborn, Hapsti, Hapsti, Hapsti. Fourthborn, Wanske, Wanske, Wanske. Fifthborn is Wihak-e, Wihak-e, Wihak-e. Okay, you could practice that. My throat's getting dry. So now we're going to do numbers. Okay, it's called counting. Woyawa, woyawa, Woyawa. 1 to 10. So again, there's a debate here when they say number 1. We could say wancha or wanji. Wanji. And then there's a debate if there's an N behind a waji, because it could be nasalized N with a tail. Wancha or wanji. Wanji. Just got real dark in here. Hold on. So numpa, 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 numpa is number 2. Yamini, 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 yamini is number 3. Topa, 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 topa is number 4. Zapta, 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 zapta. That's a nasalized N. That's number 5. Okay. Number 6 is shakpe, 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 shakpe. The S is a sh sound, SH. So you could write that to help yourself out to remember that. Shakpe, shakpe. And number 7 is shakawi, 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 shakawi. And the S is SH again. Shakawi. So the end is nasalized. Shakawi. Number 8 is shakdogan, 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 shakdogan. So the S again is SH. Okay, so you could fix that for yourself too. Shakdogan. The N is nasalized. Number 9 is napchuanka, 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 napchuanka. Again, if you put them into syllables, it'll help you say them too. So if you want to write them down and you could put them into syllables. There's lots of Dakota apps on social media, on the internet. So you could download some of those too, and you could say them over and over. And there's podcasts, I believe, that they're coming up with. Number 10 is Wikgemina, 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 Wikgemina. Okay, so that's number 10. So I'm going to ask if anybody has any questions, and I want some of you to say the words. So who wants to start? And which ones do you want to say? Everybody shy? Nobody wants to say anything?
I'll start. Hi,
Okay. Hi. Which one are you going to do? The numbers?
Sure.
Okay, all the way to 10.
Okay. Waji, Nupa, Yamni, Dopa, Zapta, Shakpe, Shakoi. In Lakota, like I'm having a hard time because I learned Lakota first. So like I know it's like Shagaloha.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna butcher it. Sadoga.
Shakdoga.
Shaftogan. Napchi Wonka. Napchi Wonka. And Wikgemina.
Yeah, Wikgemina. Yay! Thank you. Anybody else?
And Janine said she will.
Okay, Janine, bring it on.
Hi.
Hi.
I guess I'll say the children one.
Okay.
Or yeah, it's on the slide. Your echo.
Okay.
Me and my sister are together, so we're just both on our screen.
Tell her to mute herself. Okay.
Okay. Wait, what did I say I was gonna do?
The children. Or the tiwahe.
Let's see. We chasha,
Mm-hmm.
we
Mm-hmm.
si echa,
Yeah.
bokshida,
Mm-hmm.
we chinchana.
Yes. Good job.
Thank you.
You can do the numbers? You feel comfortable doing numbers?
Sure.
Okay.
Wanji, Numpa, Yami,
Mm-hmm.
Dopa, Sapta,
Yes.
Shakpe,
Mm-hmm.
Shakoi, Shakadoga,
Mm-hmm.
Napchingwanka,
Yeah.
Wikjemna.
Yes. Thank you. Anybody else? All good? Okay. Patricia. You have to unmute yourself, Patricia.
Okay, I'd like to try the grandparents.
Okay.
And this is totally new to me. You guys are way above me.
Oh, well, welcome. Welcome.
Yes. Okay, I know Kushi. That's what I was right. Kushi.
Yeah.
Tutanka? No.
Tukashi.
Tukashi. Tukashi. Tukashi.
Mhm. Yeah.
I'm used to saying Tukashila. Tukashila.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
You.
Unchi.
Yuchi. Yuchi.
Unchi. Yeah.
Yuchi. Yuchi.
Mm-hmm.
And Yunka.
Unka.
Unka.
Unka. Yeah. Yeah. Unka. Mm-hmm.
But thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for being here. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Anybody else? Nobody? Keisha?
I could try the numbers.
Okay, let's do the numbers.
Baji, Numpa, Yamni, Topa, Zaptan, Shakpe, Shakoan,
Uh-huh.
Shadogan,
Mm-hmm.
Napjiwanka, I could say that one.
Yes.
Wikjimna.
Yes, you did it. Oh my God, Keisha, you got it yet. Thank you. Okay, anybody else? Shalena?
Okay.
Okay.
Counting Wancha, Numpa, Yamini, Dopa, Zapta, Shakbe, Shakoi, Shakdocha, Napchuanka, Wikjemna.
Yes, you did it. You're awesome, Shalena. You're awesome. Okay. So anybody else want to try any of them? Anybody want to try the alphabet? No. Okay. So now when you speak the Dakota language, when you speak the blended language, so now you can say, I want Wanji, give me Wanji cup of water. So 1 cup of water, you're speaking the blended language. So try talk with these numbers in your everyday language. Start by using your numbers, okay? And people will ask, what does that mean, you know? But then you can tell them, Noompa, give me Noompa oranges, give me Noompa apples. And you always hear people calling their kids by numbers, right? And that's a way, and that's pretty cool. Week, I was going to do colors. Okay. So now we'll do those next week, but all this week, I want you guys to think of sentences that you can use your English language with, sentences from the color or counting, and from your kinship, your tiwahe. Use those. Tell me 2 sentences with the tiwahe and with the numbers. Okay, like you can say, well, I have 2 unchis, or I have numpa unchis, right? And then we don't add a s when we use the word. It's not like the English language where we add an s at the end. We don't add an s. We have to have a number. We use a number. So instead of adding an s, we say numpa wachi, nupa kushi. I have nupa kushi, right? Or else you could say that there was a Wia. She was walking down the road and she had Yamani dogs walking with her, right? So you can make sentences like that for me for next week. And I want you guys to say them, 2 sentences with these words that you just learned tonight. I know you have the words because they were emailed to use, they said. Okay, so that will be the blended sentences you'll do. 2 blended sentences with the tiwahe and with the numbers. So I hope that you guys are okay with that, because it's not really difficult. So once we start making our sentences like that, it'll start falling into place with the other words, the other Dakota words you're going to learn. And to understand that when you start using it in everyday language, with your English language, it becomes easier. And like talking to your children, your grandchildren, right? And they'll catch on. A lot of, in our Dakota ways, we were taught with commands, right? In our Dakota language, I was taught like that. I wasn't scolded. It feels different when it's said in Dakota. It's not so hurting, but those are commands again that I'll probably add some on. So for these words, the numbers, like I said, you can use wancha or wanji and add them on to your kinship. Okay, so next week. Anybody have any questions? Any comments, responses? No? You're all good?
Does the entire sentence have to be in Dakota, or is it just the kinship number, or
Just use the kinship words and the numbers.
okay, got it. Thank you.
Don't get out of hand. Don't get out of hand. We're beginning here.
Don't get out of hand.
We're beginning here.
I was a little bit worried. I had to ask, make sure.
No, that would be a beginning for us. And don't be afraid if you make a mistake. Don't be afraid that, you're gonna, so they're gonna tell you it's wrong, because again, I'm telling you that write it the way you will understand it, because in the beginning, you have to understand it for yourself, right? And you can say it later. Writing it is not that hard once you write it for yourself. And it's for you to understand. Because for me, taking my morphology and phonology classes and all that, that was part of how to say the alphabets. So that's why, people have to learn how to say the alphabet of any language, and it becomes easier for them to say the words. So you pay attention to that, practice that, the guttural, the explosive sounds, because once you start realizing that you're using your throat, your lungs, your nose to say different vowels and consonants, right? So you remember that when you start speaking a whole sentence of Dakota, it's all going to come together, especially with the guttural sound, right? And people kind of talk about that, they kind of laugh at themselves because they don't know that they can make those sounds, right, with their nose and their throat and their lungs when they make the aspirated H or the aspirated S. I see somebody's picture of their ear in here. That's what I'm looking at. But yeah, so practice the vowels and the consonants, and there's different ways to say things, because remember, Dakotas, we're all different territories. We're in Manitoba, we're in Saskatchewan. I believe there's 5 Dakota reserves in Saskatchewan, and I think 4 or 5 in Manitoba too. And that's it. And there's 1 Lakota reserve. I don't know how much Nakota reserves there are, but I know we're very limited with our dialects, right? So practice and help us revive our language, help us keep our language. And like I said, any language that you're comfortable with, that's really, really good, as long as you're learning a language, right? And it's okay if somebody says, but you're not Dakota, you shouldn't be speaking Dakota. No, help us keep our language alive. We need that. I think every other language needs that too, right? So it's okay to learn 1, 2, 3 languages. It's okay. So practice the vowels and nasal consonants, nasal vowels and consonants too before next week. So that way you'll have more of a meaning to the words you say through your nose, your throat, and your lungs, okay? And it's okay to have a little bit of fun and laugh about it, because that's how we learn. We have to humble ourselves. So we'll do that next week.